Hello, everyone. Wherever you're tuning in from, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It is I, a Tier 2 driver, Washington Nirma, commentating today in the 21st race for Season 5, Tier 1, Brazil. Today in the commentary box with me is Rusty Nish, and streaming the race is Electric. Rusty, how are you today?
I'm good, Nirma. So quite the race. We're towards the end of the season, the penultimate race. One of my favorite tracks, just because of how much action you do see around here and how tricky it is for the drivers. So I'm super excited. What about you, Electric?
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. Brazil is one of my favorite tracks, such a flowing track.
Yeah. Talking about the track, let's move on to the track video. Yep, as you can see, 4.3 kilometers, quite it was shortened quite a bit from when it started off. It was close to 7 kilometers earlier, but called interlagos because it is in between two lakes. Lagos means lakes, but 15 turns, a lot of different kinds of corners. Sector 2, especially, you've got to be so careful on your throttle. Too much throttle, and you will be spinning away because of the natures of corner. Right from 6 to 12, they're all very challenging.
Speed Brothers, we are at the Brazilian Grand Prix circuit, going around a fantastic hot lap to show you how it's done at this circuit. Down to third gear, going through the first of the Senna S's, already up to fourth on exit. As your car shoots down the Curva del Sol onto the first straight of this track, as you get a fantastic overtake opportunity lined up through here, the Decidado Lago, which is your turns 4 and 5, exiting 4, going through 5. As your car shoots up this short straight before 6, which then shoots you onto 7, taking good apex there. And finally, the slightly wide hairpin of 8, which then shoots your car through 9. It's like a sweeping left-hander, which then again shoots you uphill through to 10, Bicado Pato, a tighter hairpin, can get an overtake done if you're on fresher tires, which then shoots you onto 11, and then the famous Junshao turn 12 corner. I don't know why it's got such a Chinese name for a Brazilian track. Anyway, shooting you down 13, 14, as your car opens up through this fantastic, fast sweeping section where Gasly Hamilton had their epic duel, as we see what it's like to set a hot lap at this fantastic circuit.
That was eccentric, showing us how to go around the 4.3 kilometer circuit, loved by fans all over, and thankfully it's going to stick around with us for a couple more years. But I'm pretty sure all the drivers are readying up right now as they head into quali. Any predictions, guys?
I feel like let's get one thing out of the day. Mara is gonna do another last to first. Let's be honest here.
It's,
Well, we
it's it
thought
has to
so.
be a wet race. It has to be a wet race. I think it's gonna be dry in the start, or it's gonna be cloudy in the qualifying. It's gonna get pretty wet by the end of the race.
I would love for that to turn true. I think Brazil and the wets is a whole different mode. Well, let's see. Mara, we thought he might do a last to first last week at Mexico, but he denied us. He just stuck to a first to first.
Rusty, do you remember the overtake Max Verstappen had on Nico Rosberg in 2016 around the outside after the Senna?
Yeah.
You would think someone's going to pull that off over here because we have quite fast boys in Tier 1.
I'd hate to
Yeah,
break it to you, but it's not gonna rain. Anyways, this so yeah.
that's a bummer. But coming back to your question, Nirma, yep, and especially in 2020, the cars give you so much more downforce. So you do get you. We have seen drivers be incredibly close. I think last week we saw SD and Tanish battling it out for lap after lap, and I think one more instance I can remember is I think Amit and Mara battling it out in Austria earlier this season. We've seen the skill levels they have, so that's definitely a possibility.
As you mentioned the skills, we have quite a few cars leaving the pits. We have a Ferrari, we have Williams, and we see a Haas leaving the Haas of Trucker Watts, and the Williams behind them.
Yep, indeed, Proctor can. I think he can establish and solidify his P2 today if he finishes. I think probably has to get about 6 points more than Masoom. I think he's 18 points ahead. So around there, so it both of them are still fighting for the championship, but Masoom missing the race last weekend is going to prove costly for his quest for P2.
Talking about the battle between Prakhar Woods and Masoom, quite a battle these two boys are putting up, especially Masoom, considering that he's on a controller and the improvements he's had since the first race in Tier 1 and now.
But
The,
breaking news. Unfortunately or fortunately, Masoom is now on a wheel. He's no more on a controller. OP
is,
lad on a controller is now switched on to a wheel. This is his first league race on a wheel, so I'm excited to see how his pace is, but I don't quite think he'd be near where his controller pace was. Let's see.
locks up massively on the first turn. I think he's still getting used to the wheel. I wouldn't blame him. Switch for me from controller to the wheel was excruciating. I don't know how I got the first race win, but getting used to the wheel, I'm still not used to the wheel yet.
Yeah, I agree. I just got a wheel myself, I think a week ago. So it has been incredibly hard to go all SSO. And I think Masoom is running all SSO based upon how much he logged up into turn 1. So it is going to be hard and it'll be interesting, especially during the race with tire wear. This middle section is not forgiving at all. So electric predictions for your poll time today. Trucker sets a 107.2, but what do you think?
Predictions, I would say 6-8, 6-7. I would say that'll be the fastest laps today. High 6. I would say that's my prediction for today.
Yeah, I agree. And Masoom with the 107 flat early in the quali, because we know that track evolution you can easily gain a couple more tenths if you really push. So 107 on the wheel, first race back, that's some really promising pace over there.
I believe one of the racing points while entering the pits hit the wall. I think that was Black Sheep. I feel a lot of cars are gonna coming in hot and probably hit the wall, damage the wings, and possibly get a wing replacement.
In quali, it's not going to matter too much, is it? Crisba invalidates at the wrong time. You invalidate your next lap as well. So that's just going to be another run around for him and probably pit for new wheels. But over here, Brazil, interestingly, you don't have tire degradation like we see in Mexico or some of the other tracks. So looks mostly like a soft medium, but let's see what the lads pull out.
I mean, you have quite a few combinations of tire strategies to pull off. You could pull soft hards, soft mediums, medium softs, or hard softs. What do you think is going to be the most riskier tire strategy, and what's going to be the most safest tire strategy?
I think the safest is definitely the medium, the soft mediums, because A, you get track position because of a stronger quali, and B, both of the tires will last until the end of the race, and that's probably the best bet.
Ooh,
But
yellow
on the
flag.
flip side, we have, yeah, that was a yellow. I think that's a slow-moving McLaren.
Okay. Slow moving
But
Red
on
Bull.
the flip, okay, thank you. Yeah, on the flip side, I think the hards I've heard are really hard to bring into working temperature. So that's probably going to be the most difficult strategy. But then again, these guys absolutely extract everything they can from from the tires they have. An early safety car, and you never know, everyone might shift to hards.
I see the hard tires are ring up with the name. Quite hard to bring them up with them.
Yep, absolutely. Maranello baby stays in the pits. Masoom, Eccentric, Moto, Trucker, Black Sheep, that's our top 5 for now. But I'm pretty sure there'll be quite a few changes.
The top 3 is pretty darn close. They're all within 1,000th within each other. That's exciting. That's too close for comfort. And both the Williams, Eccentric and Moto are so close. Do you think
Yep,
they're
they're
gonna do each other?
separated. They're separated by 1,000th of a second. That's incredible. And Masoom 100th ahead. So hardly anything separating these. But let's stay on board Evil Dog as he comes to turn 1. And
Cut
I'm
turn
not
2. Don't worry, that's a new
sure.
shortcut he's discovered for the new guys to take control of.
Completely legal.
Illegal. Yep.
It's a new update from the Codemasters. You can take shortcuts once every 5 laps.
You've got the cheat code.
Prakhar wants another hot lap.
Coming around. Yeah. Based on his ERS, I think he is on the hot lap right now, but he does not improve on his time in Sector 1. Super tricky braking zone over here. Turns 9, 8, 9. Coming around 10, which is just a kink. 11, again tricky on the brakes. You don't want to be locking up that front right wheel. And then from here on, you're flat on. 13, you slide brake, not too much. Don't want to take too much of a curve, unsettle your car. But then from here on, you're flat out all the way until turn 1. Turns 14 and 15 are just kinks. Improved on that middle sector. Let's see how he gets along. Gets the fastest final sector, but again,
300ths of seconds off.
107 flat. Yep, 300ths of a second.
Well, Prakhar has now joined the exclusive 7.0 group of Tier 1 right now. The top 4 people are so close.
You know, but I think everyone get an upgrade and move into the 1-6 club.
The last 5 minutes are gonna get spicy.
Absolutely. SD on the mediums, interestingly. So early, so I don't really think he's going to be committing to these mediums. I think this could be a feeler lap. Just put a time in. Get a feel for the track. Street has retired on the track. He's lost it after turn 8, I believe. Yep, at the exit of turn 8, entry of turn 9.
I believe you'll be able to see his car on the side
yes.
track. Oh no, it's gone. Oh,
Gone.
this is where he spun. Alright, so might have been too trigger happy and just yeets it into the wall.
Yep. Running full damage, it is all it takes is a slight nudge onto the wall. But Streeter does not get a lap time in.
And SD gets a 1.8 on the mediums, which is pretty damn fast.
SD is in the top 10s already. What do you think? Is SD in a good place to be in, considering he settles lap times on hards?
Medium.
I don't think he'll stay over there.
The mediums.
Yeah, I don't think he'll stay over there. I think he'll definitely get demoted from there, and then let's see how it goes. But Myth right now starts the 106 club, gets provisional pole with a time of 106.833.
So does Eccentric. He joins him in the 106.901, and his teammate. We are on board with his teammate Moto currently set 107.0.
Nice.
What is he set right now? I think he oversteered. So what is he set? Oh, beautiful lap! 106.798. If he wouldn't have oversteered over there, I would have been a little bit better with the lap.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think he lost that much time over there. But he didn't improve on his middle sector. So I think if he comes out on another run, he can definitely go a couple of tenths quicker. But track evolution coming into play as well. So let's see how Masoom, Prakhar react to this. Prakhar's right now on his outlap. Masoom just exiting the pits right now. Interestingly, Tarnish is yet to set a lap time, so does Anhydrous Acid. Anhydrous Acid has been out on the track quite a bit, but I think he's just been invalidating his lap times. Talking of which, he does set a lap, a 107.3, and has P9 for the moment. Black Sheep coming across the line, no, goes into the pits, wasn't improving on that lap.
Considering how the Senna SS is in the first few laps, do you expect a safety car over there in the first lap itself?
First lap, it's always tricky because some people just get a better exit and it just becomes really tricky to judge cars around you, especially with all the fuel load you're carrying. But I actually don't think we'll see a safety car at the Senators at least. I just feel like from what I've noticed with these tier 1 boys across so far, they've generally been super cautious into turn ones and twos. So I don't really see a safety car coming out because of an instant it's Senators. So we know that Streeter is probably starting from the end of the grid along with Mara, unless Mara decides to go out on a run. Oxygen right now improved on sector 1 time. Coming through sector 2, you want to use maximum track limits. Don't want to be locking up over there. Bring your car right and then just let it flow along these 2 turns. Super important to nail your exit over here, minimize spin, get this long run up to turn 1. Stay to the left of the track to minimize your distance traveled, and let's see what time he sets. Yep, he comes across with a 107.139. A respectable time for sure. We got Moto spun around and cutting some grass, showing that it's not just a Mercs which can mow some lawn.
Valtteri Bottas will be proud of you.
So does this mean Moto deserves a promotion to Mercedes next season?
Toto Wolf, if you're hearing this, please, Moto deserves a raise and a chance to race in the Mercedes F1 team.
Send us an email. We'll be waiting.
I think it also depends on Moto's PPT skills. So let's see how his PPT skills are.
You'll find some courses in Skillshare. I'm sure there has to be a PPT course up there in Skillshare.
Yeah, absolutely. But talking about Mercedes, Myth making that Mercedes proud, gets a 106.7 provisional pole, a few hundredths of a second quicker than Moto.
I'm a Myth is doing the same thing we get to see every day, every on the weekend races. Mercedes on the front row, but right now all three cars are Mercedes powered cars, and P4 too. P1 is a Mercedes, P2 Williams, P3 the Racing Point, P4 the Williams again.
Manish with a brilliant lap over there, completely went under the radar with a 106.881. Is proving super strong towards the end of this season, and I think he's still battling to try and get into the top 10 of the standings. Let me just pull that up. So yeah, Tanish is P10 right now, but Nomo Pro player at P8 is just 4 points ahead of him. So he's still got quite a bit to fight for right now towards these last 2 races.
Danish is in quite some hot water over there. He's in P10 with 81 points. Moto is there in P9 with 82 points, just 1 point shy. And Pavaji in P11 with 78 points. Danish, if he's already had a look on the standings chart, he knows he needs to put in a beautiful performance. I mean, he has in qualifying, but he doesn't have to win it in the race. And when you have something like that in mind, a psychological aspect plays, and then you just either overdrive a car or you just try to extract more out of it and just spin out or crash into people.
Absolutely. Last when I talked to him, he told me that he wasn't too happy with the season. It's just been a lot of mistakes earlier on, but now he's just trying to avoid incidents and trying to stay consistent over the course of the race.
With 1 minute 25 seconds left, Maranello baby has still not left the pits. Is he going to grace us with his famous last to first challenge today?
It won't be the first. I think from the top of my head, I think Russia, France. Am I missing any other races where he did the last to first?
USA, I think he did.
Yeah, USA.
Um,
I think that's about it.
yeah.
I mean, it's not a small thing to just say that's about it. It's not easy by any means to do that.
It takes quite some skill and quite some talent to do that. Yep, it's 30 seconds left. Maranello baby has officially taken up the challenge of going from last to first. Let's see how hyped up can he make this race and how exciting are the overtakings going to be.
Babaji coming through turn 9, flat out through 10, and then 11 is all about braking, getting steer in, but you need to be early on the throttle so that the rear helps your car turn around. Flat out through 12, Evil Dog's retired, but I think it's in the pits.
Baba has improved in both Sector 1 and Sector 2. How does he do in Sector 3 and does that help him to promote up into the order? We reached
Very
start finish
clean.
lane.
Who doesn't really improve on his time. Sector 3 wasn't the best for him, so he will be starting P13 at the least. It will be interesting to see if Chris Bai can improve on his time, but Moto right now provisional pole. Can anyone beat his time up there? Can we shift to any people, someone on a hot lap? Throw piece fun around.
Is this considered a hot lap? We have a lot of drivers spinning out over there. We had Streeter DNF over there. We have Cropi who has completely cut the corner. And as I say that, we have Oxygen coming up to the penultimate corner and reaching the start finish line.
You're already down 4 tenths through the first two sectors. Probably traffic in the second sector. So I don't see him improving. But I want to point out how close Masoom and Trucker are. It's just been the tail of the season so far. Both of those drivers so close to each other. Separated by a 10. I think 8 thousandths of a second is what separates Masoom and Trucker. And it's just been the tail of the season so far for both of them. This guy will be a little disappointed to be starting P16. Joining us late, he has shown a lot of pace. So this is the standings right now. Moto with a brilliant lap, 106.5. And then you got Myth, Eccentric, Tarnish, SD Pro Player, the McLaren duo back at it. Tucker, Masoom, Oxygen, Anhydrous Acid, your top 10, and all of them on softs. It'll be interesting to see what P11 onwards choose in terms of tires, Black Sheep, Couple, Baba, Casey, Speedlust, Kisbar, Evil Dog, and then you had Streeter, DNF, and Mara just never exited the pits.
The top 10 are pretty close. They're all within half a second of each other. And then Maranello just. He's gonna put up some quite a show today. I am excited to watch him pull off something.
Absolutely. I just wish, like you wanted, that we had some variable weather conditions, but we've been served dry weather conditions, and that's just been the tail of Tier 1 mostly. I'm sure you and Electric driving Tier 2 know that you guys have been having a lot more wet weather races than the Tier 1 boys. Electric.
I mean, to be honest, I haven't attended half of the season due to personal work, but the mostly for me, I only encountered dry weather mostly. So I think
Okay.
yeah, I think Nirma would know more.
I drove the France race. That was wet. I crashed out. I'm not gonna name the specific driver who made me crash out, but I still hate you. I hope you watch this stream. And and the second wet race was Hanoi actually. But Hanoi was wet, but it wasn't as wet for you
Oh
to
yeah,
switch
Hana,
into the
yep.
intermediates. Yeah, you remember that,
Yeah,
right?
now I remember.
We still could do laps after lap on the mediums and still could be competitive. And the people who switched to the inters, oh ho ho, they were, I bet you they were crying. They were regretting every minute of switching on to the intermediates. So this game is quite tricky. That game came out recently at that time, so there were quite some errors at that time. But now the game has been refined from a lot of updates. So I don't know. I like driving around wet weather over here. It's so unpredictable, and people slow down, and it's even more nerve wracking to overtake drivers in the wet weather.
All the flavors and you chose to be salty.
Excuse me?
I just talking about your jab at the driver in question with respect to your France race.
I mean, I was P6, P7. My first half of the calendar wasn't so good, except my race one, which I won. And then after that, I just barely scraped points. And that was the first race that I finally managed to get into the top 10s. And I think it was a bit ambitious move
Meanwhile,
from me, too.
I lost in the second last lap while in P3. I about to get my first podium and yep, spun out. Good
It's
times.
all right. Everyone who do want to continue catching up on this conversation and seeing these two brilliant drivers race, do tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel to see these tier 2 boys try and close out their championship fights. There's still a lot of battles going on in the tier 2 championship as well, so do tune in.
Quite a beautiful view, these cars weaving around. And as I mentioned, that we have a car disqualified. We have
Amazing view,
four
Codemaster.
cars disqualified.
Yeah, I think Floppy and Trucker had a coming together, Black Sheep and Couple had a coming together, and it's not a nice feeling to start on cold tires, especially through turn 1 and through the
And
Sennheisers where you
especially if
do
you're
need,
top 10s.
yeah, when you need a lot of grip, it's not going to be fun for Propi and Trucker to be starting on those cold tires.
I believe the racing gods are going to bless us with a safety car on lap 1.
Before we head to the start finish, can we quickly have a look at the tires, Electric?
Sure.
Yep. So interestingly, Couple, Casey, and Chris Byle decide to stay on the softs. Those starting after P10. Black Sheep as well. I mean, yeah, these three are starting on the softs. Everyone else from P11 on the mediums. But for the race start, let's go to positions lost in game. Yep, position change. Yep, perfect.
Those drivers might know something that we don't, and they might surprise us, especially Couple after the race he had in ACC, which he won after not even qualifying in the top 3. So he might know something and he might be exploiting it to his advantage.
Probably expecting a safety car.
The racing gods giveth, the racing gods taketh.
Yep. But the last of the drivers, Maranello Baby, is coming across, taking his position on the grid, and we should be lights out any moment now. It's always nerve-wracking when you're a driver, but 4-5 lights, and away we go. Brilliant start from Myth, I believe, starting P2, looked like he got off the line better with Tarnish from P4 on the inside of Myth, makes some move, and I think he makes it stick as well. Myth losing positions right now, but Motomoto with a brilliant getaway, and 3 wide they go.
I'm sorry, but I have to interrupt you. Does the game say that Marinello Baby is already P5? He's P2. What is going on? Is this game glitching? Yes, the game is glitching.
Yeah.
We have Speedless retired.
Has retired at the second straight, which is called the opposite straight, Reta Opposita.
Oh, no, no, no. We have 4 stop goals penalties. We have a flying wing. This race has gone horribly wrong for Propi, Anhide Assassin, Babaji, and Black Sheep.
Yep, absolutely. But what a start that was for Tanish over there. Makes a move on the inside. Full send, licked the stamp and sent it and made it stick as well. Mitch, we know, is a brilliant driver, gave him space through turn one, but lost out to SD because of that as well. But now safety BSC right now, so that means that people will not be going into the pits. Safety car, and it would have been a whole different story.
Babaji must have been so happy after getting 2 positions, but nope. The racing gods take it away, those 2 positions gained, and he has a stop go penalty.
Yep, and Mara meanwhile does make this 3 positions up. We got Unhydrous Acid, Crispa, and Black Sheep pitting for new wings, I believe. But we're back racing. It's lap 3. And let's see what kind of a start. Moto again pulling away, absolutely giving others no chance of trying to keep up. But we're on board proper right now as they come through turn 4. There's quite a gap between Masoom and the cars ahead because everyone in between them went into pit, I believe.
Maranello Baby is already sub 7 positions in P12, hunting down Chris Bhai. Maranello Baby is being relentless among these drivers. He has put his racing gloves on and he's going to tell them, I'm going to show you what real racing is, boys.
I think Eccentrics had a moment. He's dropped 5 positions. He's dropped from P2 to P6. His wings clean, so I just think he's lost his rear end, and that allowed the 4 drivers to overtake him. But we're back on board Mara. Let's see how he lines up this move on Chris Bhai.
It's going to be a DRS train between these drivers. I'm expecting a long, long DRS train if there are 4-5 cars piled up.
Yeah, SD and Tanish wheel to wheel through turn 1. SD loses it slightly. That could have been a nudge, but Myth hot on the tail, quite the DRS train as they fight for P2, 3 wide into turn 4.
Is Myth
SD
gonna
has the
capitalize? Yes, he does. Myth capitalizes on this. Prakhar What's having quite a view over here. Is he gonna capitalize on Tanish as well? As you mentioned, Tanish is not happy with his performance in this season till now. Is this gonna be one of those races that he is not proud of? Yes, he is. He leaves a little too much room for Prakhar, and Prakhar says thank you very much. But Tanish still wheel to wheel with him. Going wheel to wheel into the next corner as well. Beautiful defending, beautiful attacking. And he's still there. No, he's not. Prakhar Woods gets the position done and dusted.
Beautiful racing by both of those drivers over there. But it must be quite heartbreaking for Tanish. He left space for SD, but then you had Myth coming out of nowhere, and then that was quite the send by Proctor as well. In a turn, you don't necessarily expect overtakes being done. I think he sent it into turn 8.
Finding an opportunity to exploit and just use it to your advantage. That's the best part about racing. Finding those little itty bitty parts and just using them to your advantage. That was just spectacular racing from those boys there.
Got the move on SD on the main straight. So SD is now trying to get back P2, while Prakhar and Tanish are hot on their tails.
Prakhar's gained 3 positions, Marry Little Babies gained 8 positions. By the end of this race, I'm expecting beautiful battle between Prakhar Woods and Marry Little Baby. I hope it delivers.
I think Moto's pace has been too good right now for Mari. Try and put a charge to try and make a charge to try and get there, because Moto as a whole is 2 seconds ahead of Myth, and Myth is not necessarily being able to catch up to him.
And all these drivers are stuck in the DRS train. I think the real SD is going to be leading this charge of the DRS trains, and not so Masoom stuck behind them. With Kable is 2 seconds behind Masoom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard to try and get a move done when the car in front of you also has DRS. So this whole train is pretty much counting on SD right now to try and do something about it, because it's super hard to try and get a move done if the car in front of you also has DRS.
Oh, I'm sorry, correction. Amit is leading the charge. The Mercedes of Amit is leading the charge.
Yep, SD's close behind him, but Trucker's been looking, trying to see if there's any space to try and send it like he did on Tanish. So I think Trucker might get the move done soon on SD, but right now we are on board Maranello baby. Team orders, I don't think there will be team orders because let's be honest, they don't necessarily have a lot to fight for. If anything, Babaji has needs points to try and finish higher up the table. Right now, he is sitting P11, just 3 points short of Danish at P10.
Both the Reno boys over here getting to the DRS trade. Is Baba gonna let go of Mara in this lap, or is he just gonna go all the way through and let Mara overtake him?
It should be super interesting to try and see what happens over there. But let's see. Trucker is super close to SD right now, but it's super hard to stay behind the car in this section. Dirty
Can
Ed
he go
does
on board with
play
Eccentric? I believe both the cars are pretty close with each other too. Oh, I mean, Eccentric has penalties too. We have 3 drivers with penalties already. I believe Baba has already served his top 4, so 3 drivers with time penalties. Interesting.
Yep. So SD is losing time to mid, and we have a yellow in sector 2. I think that was Casey. Not sure, but Eccentric sets the new fastest lap as we're right now wheel to wheel with the Renault boys. Maranello baby on the inside.
And we have a yellow
Makes it
flag. A
fit.
racing point is going wide. I believe that's
Oh
Tanish. Tanish has lost it. Is that's
no, that's
Tanish has
black
lost 10
sheep.
positions.
Oh yeah,
He's lost his front
and
wing. No, poor guy.
that's a VSC, and it has been the story of the season for Tanish, hasn't it? He's shown flashes of brilliance, even in Mexico. All that fighting with SD, only to spin and lose all the points. It's going to be super frustrating for him, but I think this season's been a lot about development. So I'm pretty sure next season he's going to come back stronger than ever.
A lot of drivers have been improving this season, both tier 1, tier 2. All of the drivers have been trying different ways to improve. A lot of lap times on time trial and a lot of championship races along high ranked AI. But I think now Tanish is just going to go on hard tires. What do you think? Should he go for hard tires or should he go for just another medium?
The mediums might last to the end, but no, I think it'll be a stretch. So I think he needs to go on to the hard tires.
And he gets a 5-second penalty. This race has been going horrible for him till now. He has been speeding in the pit lane, and the FIA does not have that, and they just snap the 5-second penalty on top of that.
Masum and Propi fighting through turns 4 and 5. Masum sent it on the inside through turn 4, but Propi fights, and now coming through turn 6, 7, the wheel to wheel. Propi holding position right now. These two have been wheel to wheel all through sector 2. Let's see if Masum can try and get the move done. Not yet, but probably the start finish straight is the best opportunity. But away from all of this action, Mitch picks up a very costly 3-second time penalty.
Sector 2 was the same place that Trucker Watts got the move on, I believe, which driver was it? Tanish, yes. So I expect a lot of overtakings to finally get settled in Sector 2. If all of them go wheel to wheel in Sector 1, they're gonna get settled in Sector 2, on the exit of Sector 2.
Yep, Trucker thinks about it on turn 4, but SD also has DRS. This makes it so much more difficult to overtake. But talking about Masum, the professor, he's showing a lot of pace in his first race on the wheel. It's quite incredible in my opinion. Didn't quite expect this much pace. Still stuck behind, no more pro player.
But no more pro player is, I believe, out of the DRS range of the car ahead. So if Masoom can get within 5 tenths and use his overtake and just gets closer on the start finish line and use the second DRS as his main send it soon, it's going to be a done and dusted move for Masoom.
Yeah, but right now, Trucker is the closest one to trying to get a move done. SD going all defensive, takes the inside line through turn 1, but Trucker might have the inside line through turn 2, wheel to wheel as they come across turn 3. SD with the inside line does hold on to the position, but Trucker continues having DRS. SD again going defensive, but then comes back onto the racing line at turn 4. But can Trucker try and send it before turn 6? Thinks about it. SD playing super defensive right now. We've seen his defensive master classes. Let it be Singapore or let it be Mexico, let it be ACC. If you want some good defense, you go to Real SD.
And you have given him the commentator's curse. He just goes flying like a
Oh
bird.
my god. He's going to hate me for this.
He just loses it over there. That's a very, very tricky place to get your car's traction. I've spun a lot of times over there in the time trials. It's just so tricky to get the traction there. Especially considering you have worn out tires and you're battling or defending. It's just gonna get even more trickier for you to get traction.
Absolutely. I'm super sorry for SD who was defending incredibly well. But now Trucker is going to try and catch up to Myth while being under pressure from Eccentric whom we are on board.
Not even half of the race done. Maranello is already in B7. 12 cars taken. And we have sector 1
Yellow
12
and-
flags.
Yeah, I think that's SD.
We have a McLaren. Whoa.
SD's race has gone from bad to worse in no time.
And you can see how competitive Tier 1 is. When he lost the car in Sector 2, in the traction zone, he already lost 6 places. So you can see how bunched up the grid is. This one mistake, say goodbye to all of the cars behind you.
Absolutely. Now the penalty is starting to rack up. Eccentric closer than ever to Trucker, and Trucker in front of him does not have DRS from Myth. So I think turn 4, Eccentric, if he gets a good exit out of turn 3, he will be able to get the move done on turn 4. In turn 4, has a lot of DRS left as well. He's putting a pressure on, but doesn't look like he'll be able to get the move done this lap. So it's all about trying to stay as close as possible.
Can we get to SD and Tanish? I think they have a battle over there in P13 and P14. I think Tanish has already passed SD. Oh, SD goes into the pits. We have quite a cars with penalties. Can we see the penalty situation with the cars?
So, Myth, Eccentric have 3 seconds each. Proki has 8 seconds, 5 of which he will be serving in the pits. But Couple 3, Baba 8, and then you were 5 seconds for Tanish and 3 for Black Sheep. But Mara right now, hot on the tail of Nozo Masoom, will have TRS, has the fresher tires. Masoom doesn't try battling him too hard. Sticks to the outside line, gets the move done before braking into turn 1.
And that's P6. There you go.
P6. And can we go gap to leader for a bit? Just to see how far away Mara is from the leader. Yep, Manilo Baby is 9 seconds behind. Will have the better tires towards the end of the race as well. He is right now on mediums and he'll be on softs towards the end, so it's going to be super interesting. Eccentric continuing to hound the gearbox of Trucker. Interestingly, he hasn't been super aggressive on his ERS. He's just been using them for the exits when Masom retires on the
Oh,
track. He told me that you could expect a spin from him given that he's on the wheel for the first time. And that's such a. You don't necessarily see a lot of retirements into turn 13, but oh, someone gets a drive through. Chris By gets a drive through for speeding under VSC.
I mean, coming into a race with a wheel and you're not still used to the wheel is like signing your own death certificate. It's you don't have practice, and these are not just ordinary boys. These are tier 1 fast boys of IRC. You have to expect a lot of fight, and then if you're coming with a wheel and you're still not used to it, even if you expect spinning around, I would say stick to your controller, wait for the season to end, and then spend hours on end on your wheel. Try to get used to it. Name your wheel just like how Vettel names his cars.
KC also gets a drive through, but I disagree with you on that. I think Masoom has shown a lot of pace, and I think like given that he doesn't necessarily have a lot to fight for right now, it just makes sense to try and get these two races under your belt as well on in the wheel. Throw yourself into the deep end and see how you swim through. And I know he did DNF this race, but it was just one mistake. Up till that point, he was showing a lot of pace and promise for his first race. So I think he's doing the right thing. Like, if you've got the wheel, just throw yourself into it and do the best you can. Or else forever you'll just be thinking, I might have more pace on the controller, so let me just do one more race on the controller, one more race on the controller. And it'll just be quite the time over there.
You are quite right when you mentioned that Masoom did show consistent pace on the wheel. He has been improving on the controller, and then when he gets the wheel just a few days ago, and he's already showing consistent pace. Even if he's not quick, and I will stop speaking now because we have wheel to wheel racing, nudging going on between Evil Dog and No More Pro Player. No More Pro Player asserts dominance and shoves Evil Dog aside while SD gets 3 more seconds of penalty in P16.
Yeah, it did look like Evil Dog turned in a little early, but thankfully both the cars are on the grid and all right, and I think they just laugh it off post race. But yeah, oh, we've got Chris By running wide. His race isn't going as per plan. He needs to serve a drive through as well. But yeah, coming back to talking about Marstorm, you saw how quick he was on a controller. So imagine his skill ceiling on the wheel. Because no one, I don't think there's any driver in Tier 1 who understands the mechanics of this game better than him. So I'm super excited for the next season. I
You
think
are
he,
true on that because he spends a lot of time in time trials perfecting his setup, driving other drivers' setup, knowing what is wrong. You just give him a setup, just show him a screenshot and tell him how your car is feeling. He's going to tell you what to correct. He is so good with understanding the game mechanics. You are absolutely right.
yeah, so next season, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for Marin maybe. It's not going to be a stroll in the park like it has this season. But Mara is P2 right now, 8 seconds and closing on Moto, who I think should be heading into the pits anytime now. Lap 16 is when I think your softs start dying on you, and yep, that's what he's doing into the pits, and Mara has the race lead for now.
Has Chris Pine not served his drive through yet? He still has drive through penalty in P11.
I think he should be serving his drive through when he comes along the main straight right now.
Also, can we have a view on the tires the drivers are currently driving on now? We have 5 drivers in the hards. That's interesting.
We've got yellow, we've got 2 cars stricken in sector 2. I think turn 11, 12.
The AlphaTauri and the McLaren. And the AlphaTauri lets the McLaren go, I believe. Yeah, he doesn't have a winglet. He doesn't have his white winglet. Right winglet.
His front right wing is damaged. I think they had a coming together. That could be the only logical explanation for 2 cars spinning Over there. Oh,
SD gets
SG.
another 5 seconds penalty and he just retires. He is not having this. I am expecting a raging SD on Anhydrous Acid because I saw Anhydrous just let SD go, so an Acid most likely was at fault. We don't know what happened exactly until the reports come in. But it's such a shame for SD.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunate that he decided to rage quit. But I think sometimes it's just racing for you. These drivers put their hearts and souls into this. They don't treat it like a game. They treat it like a competition. Catch up to couple, but interestingly, couples on the fresh mediums and evil dogs on those old mediums. But something I'd like to point out is Myth and Procker undercut Moto. They went in 3 laps earlier than Moto, and now both of them are ahead of.
And Mara's leading the race. If I don't think he's going to pull off a good enough gap. Oh,
Oh,
and the
that
touch again.
yeah.
Moto has the pace on Prakhar, and Prakhar is defending, and it's just so weird that you can't. You just I expected Moto to go wider if Prakhar was defending, and we have wheel to wheel racing over here. Moto sends it on the inside. Prakhar is over there, and the other Willy boy, eccentric, tries to extract the most out of the situation, licking his fingers, getting ready for this opportunity that has been presented to him from the racing gods.
Yep, a heart is sandwiched between two Williams right now. But Moto with some brilliant pace, he's showing why he was leading the race for a reason. Now it's all about trying to cut down on those 3 seconds to Myth, who is hot on the tailbox of Babaji right now. On the
So,
gearbox of Babaji, I think I
Moto
called
has
it.
essentially controlled Z Prakhar what's under over. He just like says, no, you are not gonna do that. I am still gonna be ahead of you. I was ahead of you, and I'm gonna still be ahead of you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep, absolutely. But Trucker's not
Well,
one to go down.
we actually
Go on
got a
ahead, Trip.
we got an update from SD. Apparently, he has no power and his internet is really bad. So he accidentally took out Anhydrous, which he didn't mean to. So yeah, he basically has power issues and FPS loss.
Oh,
And
that's
both the
such.
drivers have retired already. SD, you mentioned, has power loss. Acid just DNFs. I believe he doesn't see a point in it anymore after this. He put on socks.
Not quite sure why that happened, but probably he was raging as well. But right now, this battle for, I think the provisional P2 right now is thickening. You've got Babaji separating Moto and Myth, which might help Moto right now because Babaji could be giving DRS to Moto as he did give it to Myth.
Well, Moto is on fresh tires, but Babaji is almost 20 laps old. And
And
Mara
right
pits
now,
onto fresh softs.
yep, Mara's gone into the pits. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out, how much traffic he needs to negate before he can start putting in the charge. Not a lot of traffic between Mara and the leaders. In fact, I think it's fresh air all the way up until this battle right now, which is for P1, P2, P3, P4 right now. Moto not necessarily catching up to Myth at the pace he would want to.
How far will
I think
Babaji fall back? He's on really old tires and everyone is catching back.
Yeah, I think Babaji will be heading into the pits now. Let's stay on board Babaji to see if he dives into the pit lane. Yep, he does. So now Moto needs to go out there, cut out on 2.5 seconds of gap to take back what he held on to for most of the race until Mitch using all of his experience sim racing to get that undercut done.
Absolutely loved his camera view.
I think that was Casey giving way to the cars ahead. Trucker now falling behind Moto. If Trucker gets out of the DRS range, it's going to be really costly for him.
Maranello now essentially has to make up 10 seconds to catch up to P1 if he wants to win this race.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've got Tanish who spun around in turn 1, I believe. He was battling Evil Dog through turn 1 too. And
And
Tanish has come out the worst in turn 3, which is called Curva do Sol.
And this is the same place he lost his car, I believe, a few laps ago, where he completely lost his front wing and ESC was deployed. This race has not been in Tanish's favor, as we have Maranello Baby with a 108.445. Maranello Baby having the Jaws music playing in his background, hunting down the drivers in front. He has P4 Eccentric, P3 Trucker Watts, P2 Moto, and P1 I am a myth on his dinner plate, ready to be served.
I don't quite think it's going to be that easy for him. He's got about 4-5 laps, probably even 6 to 8 laps to try and do that. After that, the mediums will be feeling much better than his old softs. So it's anyone's race, but it's going to be hard for Mara right now to try and close in. But all of this battling over here is helping him a lot because all of these drivers are losing out on time to Mara because of their battles. Eccentric right now probably the favorite to try and get a move done because Trucker in front does not have DRS. 4 tenths, if he can get under 3 tenths and stay through there, through turn 3's exit, he'll probably be the favorite to try and get the move done. But losing out on some time because of dirty air, Kisbai gets another penalty. Being the tail of his race so far, penalties galore.
Since we're having a penalties galore, I think we should have a shout out for the 4 drivers with no penalties whatsoever.
Electric, we're on the pause menu.
Yeah, sorry, I've been trying. Something's like. Give me a second. I'm sorry about that.
Yep, no problem.
While we still see Trucker Watts in this Williams sandwich, Eccentric is trying to pull away from Maranello Baby, but Maranello Baby has him locked up in his sights, and he expects to stay within DRS range of Trucker Watts, so he gets to tow and gets to be as away from Mara as possible. And the 4 drivers with no penalties, Moto, Trucker Watts, Evil Dog, and Oxygen, who now switches from his hards to his softs, now expects to get Chris by and possibly Evil Dog.
It's going to be hard to get to Evil Dog, but I think Kisbai is definitely there to be overtaken right now. But Trucker has been immaculate with his defense, making no mistakes, and I think Tanish heads into the pits and puts himself out of the misery that Brazil has been. Not the end to the season he was looking for, but I'm pretty sure he'll learn from all of these races, come back stronger next season.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a soldier down. F in chat for IRC Tanish, who has somehow put himself through this misery, like Nishti, Rusty mentions, and he just decides like, nah, I'm not having any of this. I'm just gonna go and have a sleep and cry in the morning.
I'm gonna head out.
Meanwhile, up top, Moto and Myth. Moto hasn't been able to close down on the gap at all. He's got 3 laps fresher mediums, the 3 laps which led Myth to undercut him, but he has been struggling to get any time on Myth. So I don't see him overtaking. I don't see him closing down on Myth. because on this track your tires don't necessarily fall off a cliff, and I think on those mediums 21 laps isn't really hard to do. So I think Moto is probably kicking himself for staying out so long.
Also, Rusty, I have a question for you from Rishabh Bajpai. What happened to Masoom? Do you want to answer this question?
I think he either took the curb on turn 13, or or the inside, or yeah, either he took the curb on turn 13, or he was too early on the throttle, or he just throttled while on the curb. But if Masoom, if you're listening to this, please do go out to the YouTube comment section and let us know how did you lose the car and what you felt about your first race on the wheel.
And now we are only up down to 3 boys with no penalties. Moto, Prakhar Watts, and Oxygen. It's been quite
Moto,
difficult. It's been
yeah.
quite difficult for these boys to not get penalties on this track.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think Moto is not pushing because he knows Smith has a penalty, but Streeter right there gets the move done on Nomophobia long before the turn one braking zone?
I mean,
And
looking at
also,
how much
yeah,
pace Maranello has right now, the pace he's gaining on eccentric, Maranello baby, I don't think he doesn't have the P1 right now, so Moto might be playing a safe game. Since he has eccentric also in the voice chat with him, both the teammates. So eccentric might be telling him on the radio, like, yes, Maranello baby does not have the pace. I'm gonna try to hold him as much as I can. You do you and try to get the race win for the Williams. If you can have the penalty chart come up and see how much penalties Myth has, we'll be able to tell if it's possible. Or it's 6 seconds, and he just needs to be within 3.5 seconds of Myth.
yeah. I didn't notice Smith getting that second 3 second. I think that's probably why Moto hasn't been pushing. But now Trucker on his gearbox is forcing him to push. Trucker's closer than all race. I think he's been this close earlier during the first stint as well. But that was to Myth and not to Moto because Moto was about 2 seconds clear of all the cars behind him.
But Myth might not even get P3. He
Yeah.
might not even get P4. It's
If it
no
stays
podium
this
for
way,
it's no podium for Myth today. And after getting the pole position and setting the lap that he had, oh no.
yep, I agree with you. I'm pretty sure he's ruining those penalties, but let's see what the rest of the race serves us. But Black Sheep
Uh,
gets another 5 second penalty for speeding into the pit lane.
yes. You ask for being served, and the racing gods give it. He has been served a 5 second stop go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Black Sheep is not going to be enjoying this race, just like how Danish did not enjoy it at all.
So Masoom made a mistake and crashed into the wall at 300 kilometers per hour. So thankfully he's alright because it's a game, but if not, it would have been a red flag in real life. That would have been fun.
Considering, oh yeah, good thing you brought up. Since the race has already stifled out, let's talk about red flags in the past F1 games. I believe the last F1 game to feature a red flag scenario was F1 2014, where if you had a large car pileup, especially in Monaco, it would be red flag.
I'm not sure. I don't have any knowledge about past F1 games. 2019 was the first Formula One game I played, so not your expert over there. But if anyone watching this stream right now has knowledge about that, please let us know in the chat. But this battle for P1, P2, P3 is really becoming stronger. Moto having to defend with all his might because he doesn't have DRS. Plucker close behind him within 3 seconds, but then again, Plucker's depleted his overtake. Can we quickly go on board Moto for a second to see how much DRS he has left? Yeah, so Moto has 20. Go on, Nirma.
I was going to mention that Eccentric is now out of DRS range from Watts, and Maranello Baby is already closed such a huge gap. When you were talking about the ERS between Moto and Brooker, Maranello was 2.5 behind Eccentric, and now
Eccentric
he's
is
closed
still
that gap.
in DRS range, by the way.
Oh, he just came back into DRS
Yes,
range.
he did.
And Maranello Baby might possibly be looking for a podium finish after mid 6-second penalty.
It's going to be hard, but I'm pretty sure Maranello Baby is pushing every lap. He's pushing and driving on the edge. So it's anyone's race right now. I think P1 is between Moto and Trucker because Myth has 6 seconds, and then I think P1 and P2 is between those two, given that Eccentric has a time penalty. But now Eccentric is out of DRS range, so if Mara can close in 5/10 this lap, he could get Eccentric quicker than we expected.
Can you look at the tires of Maranello Baby? Because Eccentric's tires are hot and damaged. Maranello Baby obviously having the better tire over here. Eccentric has to do 5 more laps on his tires, and with time penalties on top of that. Yikes.
Yeah, Maranello is really using a lot of fuel. Look at he has a yellow light on his dash.
Yeah, already. Which means he's got less than a lap fuel, I think, like target +1, less than target +1. I think that's when it shows you orange, yellow. So Mara's been pushing, and this track is it's very hard on fuel.
Yeah, you're taking the circuit around 76%, 74% full throttle. Last time I checked. Oh,
and we have a yellow flag at sector 2. We have a Red Bull, I believe, and he's stuck in neutral. Oh, Casey has just thrown this race away for him. It's not been a good race. It's just probably going to treat this as a Sunday drive.
I think it's not been a good race for Casey, but now we know that Moto has also depleted all of his ERS because his ERS lights were switched on. So I think Trucker is now backing himself to try and get the move done into turn 1.
Can we go on to Moto and see how much ERS he has now before we head into the DRS straight? Both of them are almost equal on the ERS. This is going to be interesting as he has a little bit of an oversteer moment over there. He's using his overtake before the DRS even comes up. Now he uses DRS, already 4%, 5, 3. He's done with his ERS. He's already 6, both of them at single digits. It's going to be interesting. A beautiful battle as the race is almost coming to an end. 3 more laps of battling. Comment in the chat box who do you think is going to come out better than both of these.
Yep, that poor exit meant that he had to use that ERS early on that straight. But Moto 3-second time penalty, and that puts Trucker on provisional P1 right now. But Maranello Baby is hot on the tail of Eccentric, but Trucker is the favorite right now with that 3-second time penalty.
That's easy P3, P1 for him. If Brucker works, if he knows Maranello also has a penalty, so Brucker, all he needs to do is just bring it home. No penalties, just keep it safe on the track. If you think you're gonna push a little harder and get a penalty, don't go on the curb and just keep it safe, bring it home. That's a race win for Brucker right here, unless he gets a commentator curse from me. And Brucker, if you do, I am sorry. I cannot do anything other than that.
Yep, Eccentric trying to do everything he can to prevent Mara from getting into his slipstream. Not quite there into turn 1. It'll be interesting to see if Mara commits the move into turn 4. Super close as they come through turn 3. Yep, I think Eccentric has no ERS left. Mara should get this move done. No, not really. Eccentric holds on to P4 for another lap right now. Mara not getting past Eccentric this lap through turn 1 or turn 4 could be the deciding factor in him not getting P2 or say P3 right now.
But Eccentric is being really, really good teammate, holding Maranello Baby behind. And if Moto wouldn't have gotten that penalty, that was a race win, and so many drivers getting the stop 4 penalty. It's become second nature for me to look at that penalty right there. believe the nth driver to get another stop for penalty. No more proof there.
Eccentric doesn't even have any more ERS left. Meanwhile, Mara has around 30%, 40%.
So for another few corners. Turn 4 will Mara be able to get the move done? Trucker tried but couldn't get the move done, but Mara picks up another penalty as they battle through there. It'll be interesting to see if he could try and get that penalty removed, but Mara does get the move done finally on Eccentric, and he's got 2 seconds to try and get through in 2 laps. It's going to be super difficult, but Mara also picked up another penalty. So Trucker sitting super comfortable right now. And also the fact that Moto picked up a penalty, and I think Myth might come into the talks for P3 as well right now.
This has been the race for Prakhar once over here. Can we go to the position change and see how many positions he's gained since the start of the race?
I think he's gained about 3 or 4 positions.
He's gained
Yeah,
4
four.
positions, you are right.
Yeah, and Marinello gaining 15. Streeter, who DNF'd in quali, who crashed out, is P8 right now. But I think if Prakhar stays here, I think Prakhar just needed to finish 5th to solidify and to confirm his P2 in the championship. So now with this race win or podium for sure, he's definitely getting that P2 in the championship. And Masoom's going to have to settle for P3. Moto right now does not want to be defending. He wants to ensure that he's within 3 seconds of Myth. Can we move on to penalties for the final lap? Which we are on right now. Yep, so Mara has 6 seconds. I don't think he's necessarily going to worry anyone up ahead. But it's all about the fight for P2 between Moto and Myth. Can Moto stay within 3 seconds? As they come across the line, Myth coming across the line with a brilliant undercut. But because of those penalties, losing out, and Moto also because of that one penalty picked up towards the end of the race, loses P1 to Prakhar, who kept it super clean, gains 6 positions over the course of the race to finish P1. Marinello baby tried his best to fight from last to first, but these boys in front of him showing resilient defending, eccentric especially, ensuring that Mara does not get into the podium places.
Marinello the baby, just putting quite a show for us. Even if he doesn't get the podium places, it was quite amazing to watch him dust through the field and get to the podium. Try to get to the podium, and the game is going to award him with the driver of the day. But for you, who do you think is the driver of the day today?
I think it's Prakhar. So I was just notified that even though Prakhar's been on the podium pretty much all season long, he's P2 in the championship. But this is his first race win. So congrats to Prakhar on getting his
Wow.
first race win of the season. Incredible.
Wow, that's his first race win. I know how that feels. I was yelling in the voice chat with my teammate. I couldn't believe that I got the race win. It's amazing. Even considering that you get a race win in Tier 1, which is probably has the fastest drivers that this community has to offer in Indian racing community. That's amazing achievement.
Yep. So for all of that consistency he's shown throughout the season, finally gets rewarded with the race win. Finally, he also solidifies and confirms that he is finishing P2 in the championship. So a good weekend for Prakhar overall, with a brilliant race, picking up no penalties, staying super clean, and being quite the race for him.
And your podium finishers for today are Prakhar Watts with the race win, followed by Moto in P2 and I'm a Myth in P3. Eccentrics as fall shots in P4, Manuel P5, Couple A6, P6. Interesting. Babaji P7, Streeter P8, P Pro no more Pro Pair P9, and Oxygen P10.
I think this could be one of the better finishes for Couples in over the course of the season. But the McLaren started off super strong, but SD with connection issues and the occasional spin. And Propi, I think lap one he picked up damage. He had to serve a stop go penalty, and it didn't turn out very well towards the end of the race. As we
Nothing
wait,
hurt. Nothing
yeah,
hurts a
go on.
person more. Nothing hurts a person more than having electricity issues and internet issues. Knowing that you are actually doing well, that this hurts really deep.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Be that it's just super. It just infuriates you knowing that you're in for a good finish, but then it's something you don't have in control. But we do have a three podium finishers joining with us right now. So, first and foremost, congrats to all three of you. Brilliant race. You guys were battling it out throughout from lap one to the very last lap. You guys were going wheel to wheel, staying within the RS of each other. So, thank you for that race. But um, I'd be doing injustice if I started anywhere else. Proctor, congrats on your first race win of the season.
Yep, thank you, Nish. Thank you. That it took some time, but yeah, I think this one was a comprehensive one. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure what will happen after the reports are made, or after all that good stuff. But as for the race itself, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, that was a good experience for me.
But that was a well-deserved race win for you today. The Moto in front of you did not have penalties, and we were expecting both of you to battle it out for P1, but then Moto just gets a penalty. And what was going through your mind when you know that the driver in front of you and the drivers behind you had penalties, and you possibly could get race win, but you had to defend for it? What was going through your mind to keep it clean and keep it planted?
Yeah, so my only sort of mindset coming into races is that I don't want to do anything extraordinary. So, in the many practice runs that I have done, my pace was 9.6, 9.7, on the medium tires, and then the softs were like 10.2, 10.3. So I just, if I'm hitting those times, I'm happy with that. And even if the car in front of me is, stretching a gap, the car behind me is catching up, I know that if I try too hard, that'll be just something beyond limits, and that'll not be good. So I know my pace. I try to just stick to it, and towards the end, I think I tried really hard to push Moto into making mistakes, and yeah, I'm thankful that he made one.
Amazing. Now, coming before we get to Moto, Amit, brilliant undercut over there. I think both Proctor and you fit in the same lap. Both of you got the undercut on Moto, and you had the race win in your hands. You were 3 seconds ahead, and it didn't look like Moto was catching up. But how did you pick up those penalties?
Yeah, first of all, I haven't touched this game for 3 weeks or something, and like only 2-3 laps practice, so that can probably explain the penalties. And after that, I guess, yeah, I never had the win in my hands because I always had that 6 second penalty, and there was no only on the slightest chance was that both of them should get 3 second penalties, and that's what I was trying to. That's why I was trying to maintain that 3 second gap. But unfortunately, at the end, my tires just hit the cliff, and like Moto had few fresher tires. But full respect to him because he was so unlucky there during the virtual safety car. So for him to come back like that and potentially actually win the race, it was really good by him.
Yep, thank you. So, Moto, tell us about what happened during that VSC.
Yeah, so there were two VSCs in which I could have possibly pitted, but the thing was that I was in a very bad position in the track, so I couldn't take full advantage of it. So the first one, I think when Myth pitted, I was in like I just done taken the Senna S's, and the second one, I think I was in the middle sector. So both times it was no scope of me taking gaining anything from it. Then like from there, I just went full beans, tried to push every lap. And that's where I picked up both my warnings. I kept pushing too hard to like make up the time lost because the VSC, the undercut. And at the end, turn 4, I ran wide, got my third warning, picked up the penalty, and it was all over from there. There was just a race to the finish line after that. So yeah,
But
very disappointing on my end, but good race from Prakar and Myth. Really good.
yeah,
Had fun.
I think all three of you staying so close to the car in front without making mistakes, trying to coax each other into a mistake. I think over the course of the season, this could be one of those races where it was fought just as hard mentally as it was fought physically on track. Would you agree to that, Prakhar?
Yeah, I think in the practice sessions, Moto and I think both had, we were within tenths of each other, exchanging time. So on some laps he was faster by 1/10 than me, and on some laps I was faster. So I knew that it would be very very close. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's all in the mind pretty much. And if you can control, the car, control your race, it always towards the end, it always helps you.
Amazing. You guys have anything to ask each other?
Moto, I have a question. I think all three of you knew that since Mara was starting from the back of the grid, he might eventually catch up to you guys. And when Mara was hot on Eccentric's tail, was there any radio communication between the both of you, Moto, and Eccentric?
No, not
as
at all. I wasn't bothered by that at all because I knew the softs would die out at the end. The advantage isn't that good. So I wasn't too concerned what's behind me, apart from Prakhar, obviously. But yeah,
he
then,
was
I mean,
he was pretty hot on you. So, did you feel the pressure from Praka? Did you feel the heat that yes, he is
absolutely.
forcing
He's the
you?
one who may like caressed me is not a word, but like he's the one who forced me into a mistake. So I mean, the pressure was immense, and like I gave in, made a mistake, and that's it. Lost the race from there.
You'll have many more races to win in the future.
Always
Any
remember one thing: the racing gods take it, the racing gods give it.
Yep. Anything else? Nirma, you got any more questions? Electric Nirma?
I'm done. I'm done. That was good race from you all three of you. The last 6 laps was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, amazing racing from you three guys. Excellent. Genuinely, it was a pleasure to watch you guys race at the end. So yeah, thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of you who stayed around until this point and all of you who did tune in earlier as well. As we saw these tier 1 boys battle it out in Autodrome Modi Interlagos. But tomorrow we will have Electric, Nirma, and all our tier 2 drivers continue battling it out in their championships. Just to give an insight, the top two constructors, Williams and Ferrari, are separated by one lone point. So do tune in tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. to catch the Tier 2 race on the IRC channel. Thank you to everyone in IRC who make these streams possible, and most importantly, I thank all of you for tuning in and being such amazing audience. Thank you.